Please welcome to the stage Karan Batta.
All right, welcome. Thanks for being here. I promise I'm going to try to make this quick so you guys can get lunch. Hopefully everybody caught a little bit of the keynote. I think we're going to be discussing some of those things today, and I'm super excited to be here. It's an exciting time to be an Oracle customer. It's an exciting time to be an Oracle partner. Before we talk about technology, I wanted to talk about choice. Choice is important. Choice is a fundamental human right. It's part of the human experience. It makes us feel in control, and it plays a vital part in our daily lives. We make choices every day that we take for granted, everything from picking our doctor to our insurance provider to even making basic choices like food. Life would be extremely boring if we didn't have choice. Now, when it comes to technology, choice fosters innovation and competition, and no other company has really embodied that choice unlike Uber. For the last 15 years, Uber's provided choice to their customers. They launched in 2010 and completely changed the taxi and transportation industry. To talk a little bit more about how Uber's partnered with Oracle and how they're still continuing to provide choice for customers, I'd love to invite Sahil on stage to talk more.
Hey, Karan. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks, Sahil. Well, hopefully you caught an Uber to the conference.
Definitely.
All right. So, we've been working together for a little while, and Uber's been around for 15 plus years. You guys completely changed everything. Can you talk a little bit about how Uber began, where it is today, where it's going? Sort of give us the big picture.
Sure. That's a great question. As you probably know, Uber started out as a luxury car service in San Francisco. Now we operate in multiple countries. We have all kinds of new transportation options, shared rides, EVs, auto rickshaws, motorcycles, and even helicopter rides. We've expanded into delivery and grocery market, and that's changing the way people eat and shop. On the technology side, there's been a big transformation as well. We started out as a monolith application in Node.js. Now we have thousands of microservices. We run across multiple regions, multiple cloud providers, even on-prem. We use a lot of sophisticated ML models. Just to give you context, today we power about 1 billion trips per month on our platform, serving hundreds and millions of people around the world. So, we've come a long way in 15 years, I think.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. And we've been working together for a little while now. Obviously, you're running a lot of your trip infrastructure on OCI. And the scale is obviously ginormous. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing that providers like us need to solve to adopt to some of your scale?
Yeah, another great question. I think for us, number one is reliability. A lot of people depend on our platform, whether you're trying to get a ride to the airport or have a meal delivered. People depend on us, and not just customers, but also the earners that are on our platform. And so we take that responsibility very, very seriously. So reliability is key for us. Scale is another one, like you mentioned. The business is growing, but also things like grocery and delivery, they're challenging our storage and search infrastructure in new ways. And then I would say, lastly, cost effectiveness for us as a business. It's an evergreen area. We're always looking for ways to make the platform more cost efficient, and so that's another key area of partnership.
Great. And can you talk a little bit about how you think about technology partners? Of course, you run trip serving on us, but you obviously have other environments, not just on OCI, but you have it on premise, you have it in another cloud. Can you talk a little bit about how you balance all of those things together?
Well, obviously on-prem is that's just us, but in terms of like technology partners, I think partnership is the key word there. At our scale, off-the-shelf solutions rarely work. And so we're really looking to work with partners that can jointly work with us to develop solutions that can address our requirements around scale, reliability, cost effectiveness.
And can you talk a little bit about what we've been doing for the last couple of years? I mean, I think we've been working together for about 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
You know, it's been obviously a journey. We actually had Uber on stage last year with Clay. So talk a little bit about what have we been up to, some of the collaboration work that we've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Oracle's been a key partner for us in our cloud migration journey right from the very beginning. You know, when we started out, we thought we were going to do a lift and shift migration, just take everything the way it is and put it on the cloud. We quickly realized that wasn't going to work. And so, you know, right off the get-go, we had a very close collaboration on design, architecture, reliability, capacity supply, all of these areas. You know, after that, you know, I think there's been really good collaboration in terms of silicon diversity. You know, we've been adopting ARM on your platform, and you know that's been working out really well for us. And also, we're doing some great work on silicon diversity for GPUs. And I would say, you know, sort of the last area or the third area of critical collaboration for us is as our journey sort of progresses in the cloud and we mature as a platform, we're starting to adopt more PaaS services. So, you know, remote block storage for our online databases or things like object storage for our streaming platform. So I think that's been another key area of partnership.
Yeah, I mean, it's been super exciting to see you guys grow. I mean, obviously, the ARM projects have been super successful. I mean, I wouldn't be lying if I said I think you're one of the biggest ARM consumers on the planet. You also have one of the biggest MySQL deployments on the planet, right? So we're super excited. Thank you so much for your partnership, and thank you for being a great customer and being here.
All right.
Thanks, Sahil.
Thanks, Karan.
Thanks.
Cheers.
So, you know, as Sahil mentioned, right, they provided choice to their customers. But they also need a choice when it came to their technology providers and their partners. And just like Uber provided choice and needed, you know, technology partners, Oracle disrupted the database market in 1979 when we launched our first commercial database. And then over the last 4 decades, you know, we've been probably the most widely adopted commercial database on the planet. And then since then, we've continued to build upon and invest in our Oracle database with new features and capabilities, such as RAC, which has been you know, around for 25 years and still is a massive differentiator for us. Exadata, which is our engineered hardware and software together to be the most secure and highly performant way to run your database. And then finally, Oracle Database 23AI, which is 6 years of innovation rolled into a single release. And then this week, we're talking about 26AI as well. The world stores and runs its data on Oracle Database. And I feel like the Oracle Database has enabled innovation at scale and impact almost no other company in history can match. That's a pretty major statement. And let me explain why. You know, you probably interact with Oracle Database without even knowing about it on a day-to-day basis. If you walk into a bank today and you talk to a teller, it uses the transaction systems called FlexCube. It's owned by Oracle, and it uses Oracle Database. If you go to a doctor, the patient data is stored in an Oracle Health EHR platform, which runs on Oracle Database. If you go to a telco for your phone plan, those 5G networks are running on Oracle technology powered by Oracle Database. If you check into a hotel today, like all you did this week, it runs Oracle Hotel One, which is powered by Oracle Database. If you walk into McDonald's or Starbucks and you buy an item, it runs on Symphony or Micros, which are Oracle retail applications running on Oracle Database. If you get a bill from a utility provider like I do in Seattle, you get it from PSC. It is generated by Oracle OPower, which runs on Oracle Database. So from that perspective, you know, most of sort of the world's critical workloads still run on Oracle Database, and a lot of them questionably are still on premises. A lot of these use cases are mission critical and, you know, can actually benefit a lot from the cloud. And the reason they haven't moved to the cloud is not because they don't want the cloud, it's because of a lot of different characteristics such as performance or latency or regulatory requirements. Now, most of these database workloads have been running in private clouds and still do today. They're cobbled together with a lot of different vendors from software and hardware. You know, and the cloud provider needs to bring all of these things together. And what you end up doing is, although you get the performance, but you miss out on all of the benefits of the cloud, like scale, security, innovation, flexibility, choice. Cloud finally fixed that for you. You know, in 2016, when we launched OCI, it was purpose-built for Oracle database workloads. But we still had massive gaps in two particular areas. Flexible deployment options, you want to be able to deploy wherever you want. And then second, commercial flexibility. You wanted the ability to be able to procure, manage, and run Oracle database services anywhere possible. Let's talk about both. Flexible deployment options. Moving to the cloud is generally very hard. When customers make decisions and they're picking a cloud provider, it's a pretty monumental choice, right? You're picking multiple different clouds. You're picking one to go all in on. It's a fairly major decision. We wanted to make that much, much easier. And we're sort of in year 2, year 3 of our multi-cloud journey now. You can now deploy Oracle database services across all the 4 major hyperscalers, including OCI. And you can get over 200 regions today where you can deploy Oracle database services. So you get extreme choice to deploy wherever you are. Now, somehow, if those 200 regions didn't satisfy that requirement, customers can also deploy databases across Exadata Cloud at Customer, which is our Exadata appliance, which is remotely managed. Or if you needed the broader gamut of OCI public cloud services, you could also deploy this on Oracle dedicated region. And you get the entire portfolio of public cloud services as well. So with all of this in mind, looking at that map, there's literally no place on earth you cannot deploy an Oracle database. Choice doesn't just mean extending OCI into the data centers, but it also giving customers the ability to use the same tool set and the same operational guidance that they've been using to migrate and run their database workloads. We announced and launched AWS exactly almost to the day a year ago for our core database services. But we've also integrated into AWS with things like when you run your backups, they go to S3. We do things like zero ETL, so it's easy to move your data around within AWS services. Secondly, our partnership with Google is a little bit more older, a bit more mature. We've got a couple more regions and more services, still live, also in planning. But we also have a network interconnect, so that means you can move data across multiple different regions, across the same geographies for free. And then you can use things like our core database service, which goes all the way down to VMs. And then you can also use our brand new service, Exascale, which actually gives you the ability to run workloads on scaled down Exadata. Now, we partnered with Azure for several years. They were our first partner in our multi-cloud journey. We obviously have the network interconnect with them, which is why this list is a little bit more complete. We've been working with them for a while. And Azure customers now basically just about get the same experience, services as an OCI customer. And we'll continue this joint investment across all of our partners to make sure that Oracle database customers get the best experience no matter whatever cloud they choose to pick. Now, it's not just simple enough to be able to deploy everywhere, right? You want the entire portfolio of Oracle database services. It's not just about deploying an Oracle database. When a customer deploys Oracle database, they use a gamut of other Oracle data services like DataSafe, DataGuard, Golden Gate to move data around. So we want to be able to offer those services, which we're in the process of doing. But also, we want to make sure that customers have a first-class experience in those other clouds. Well, what does that mean? It means that when you deploy and launch and run an Exadata, they want to be able to integrate into all the other platform services. So we've integrated into things like identity, networking, observability, monitoring, et cetera, so that the database service looks exactly the same as all the other partner services that you're managing, running, and deploying. On top of that, we've also integrated into the broader ecosystem of the other services. So if you want to use AI with your Oracle data very easily, well, guess what? You can use things like Bedrock or Vertex AI or Azure OpenAI and point directly to your Oracle database deployment in that cloud. And then finally, if you're an Oracle applications customer, applications such as EBS, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, Hyperion, and so on, they're now all officially supported on the other cloud providers, so you can run the entire stack top to bottom. So that's flexible deployment options. Let's talk about commercial flexibility. Where you deploy is really important, but customers also want a very easy way to simply procure and run and purchase and consume their database services. Now, we already provide some of this to some of our customers, like BYOL. So if you have an enterprise agreement with Oracle, you can move your licenses around. We give customers the ability to do support rewards. So if you're using another cloud provider with Oracle Data Services, you can count that against your support bill. However, customers needed to be able to have a single bucket of funds, have a single currency, and then make the choice of where to spend what amount of money at the last minute. And so if you attended Clay's keynote, he talked about multi-cloud universal credits. It's the single currency that allows you to purchase once and consume anywhere. So customers no longer have to make the choice of how to divide their budget up front. They can make that decision at the last minute. So you get consistent pricing, you get consistent volume discounting across all providers, and also you can still apply other commercial benefits like I talked about, like the BYOL and the support rewards alongside multi-cloud universal credits. So with the commercial flexibility and the ability to actually deploy anywhere you want, it sort of completes the picture. We are giving customers extreme choice to deploy whatever service in whatever cloud. In fact, not even clouds, but you can even deploy this stuff on premise. And we give you the commercial flexibility to be able to pick and choose how you want to spend your funds. To hear more about customers' experience using multi-cloud, I'd love to invite Akshay from State Street to talk more. Akshay?
Hey, Karan.
All right, please. Welcome. So, Oracle's been around obviously 4 or 5 decades, but I think State Street's a little bit older. You've been around 250 years. Can you talk a little bit about how State Street is driving sort of innovation across the banking industry?
First of all, thank you for having me here, Karan. State Street is a globally systemically important financial institution. It's one of the GCFs, and we are deemed essential for smooth functioning of the global financial markets. So it's the backbone of a lot of the financial transactions which happen in the worldwide. We service almost 48 trillion assets every single day, which is probably about 12% of the world's assets that flow through our systems on a daily basis. Our investment management franchisee manages about 5 trillion assets under management, and that talks to the scale and the criticality at which we operate. As far as innovation is concerned, we are always in the front, leading innovation in the industry. 250 years old.
Wow.
Huge legacy. So we started in 1700s supporting maritime trade activities. From there, 1920s, we were the first custodian of a US mutual fund. Off to 1990, we were the first one to come up with the world's first exchange-traded fund, SPY. A lot of you would have invested in SPY, and we brought it to the industry. And now, recently, we launched Alpha, which is redefining institutional investing as the industry's first and only, I would say, front-to-back investment servicing platform, which is out there. So we've been leading in innovation in the industry, driving change every single day.
For a very long time, yeah. And how does cloud play a part in that, right? 250 years old, you've been reinventing yourself for a very, very long time, obviously changing things. And cloud, obviously, is in some ways a very relatively new phenomenon in that 250-year journey. So how does cloud play an impact in that change?
Cloud is actually is a foundational pillar of our transformation journey. With the scale of data that we manage and operate every single day, data management, cloud, and AI are foundationally very, very important to us, right? We are actually moving towards a very cloud-centric architecture or infrastructure as opposed to data centers, right? So we're trying to reduce our data center footprint and be more cloud-centric as we transition to a more cloud-native delivery model. We are driving towards a multi-partner approach like everybody else to diversify risk and also leverage the best-in-class capabilities that the providers are giving us, right? So we have relationships with AWS, Azure, and Oracle. It's a multi-partner approach. We have moved different nature of workloads into the cloud, including VDI, DAS, data platforms, some of our core banking platforms, as well as AI.
Understood. So, I mean, obviously, you're using multiple providers, and you'll talk a little bit more about that. But can you talk a little bit about the relationship you have with Oracle. Obviously, you're a longtime Oracle database customer running Exadata. Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration between the two teams, not just from an Oracle standpoint, but also if you talk about the multi-cloud journey that you're on?
Sure. So Oracle has been a great partner. We have been working with you guys for over 2 decades now, and the relationship doesn't extend only to databases, but we have relationships where we use EBS and Oracle Revenue Management and Billing, and of course, we are also paying for Java, right? So the relationship is much broader than just databases. But I think over the past 3 years, I think there has been like really tight collaboration between our teams, which is awesome to see. And I was listening to you talking about that you're mature in Azure, and now AWS is coming up. I remember we signing the deal on OCI, Clouded Customer, a couple of years back, and our intent was to see how we can democratize Exadata into all the clouds, right? Because of exactly what you said, the AI innovations are happening in the cloud. And without data, you can't innovate with AI. You cannot exploit and leverage the new advancements in technology if the data is not up there in the cloud, right? And so I think the partnership has worked really well. We were championing X at Azure. Glad to say we are in production now, which is great. And now we are actually working on X at AWS, which we intend to push to production Q1 of 2026, right? And so I think the partnership has worked great. We've been listening to each other, right? And the recent announcement you made on the Oracle Multicloud Universal Credits is awesome.
Awesome.
Why? Because it allows me to consume Oracle where I want, how I want, without having to worry about sort of the contractual obligations and the whole overhead of paperwork, everything else.
Yep.
So
well, we had Matt from AWS on stage with Larry last year, and we had State Street on stage with Larry as well. So partially it's also thanks to you to make us a great partner with the other CSPs. So thank you so much, Akshay, for joining us, and thanks for all the work.
Thank you.
Thanks. So we talked a lot about commercial database, but Oracle also owns one of the world's most popular open source databases, MySQL. MySQL powered the early days of the internet with the LAMP stack and still underpins countless systems today. We poured massive R&D into MySQL for over a decade, and we've enhanced it to be more modern, more secure, and more performant. We've led key feature enhancements, such as the development of InnoDB storage, which is basically the primary transaction system, and then also innovated with things like HeatWave, which is an accelerated query engine, and we've made it part of our multi-cloud strategy so everybody has access to it. To talk a little bit more about MySQL and to showcase a multi-cloud demo, I'd love to invite Nipun on stage.
Thank you, Karan. Thank you, everyone. MySQL HeatWave is a fully managed MySQL database service from Oracle. Here we have taken MySQL and we have augmented it in 3 interesting ways. First, HeatWave has a massively scale-out in-memory query engine, which significantly accelerates queries which come to MySQL. And in particular, it offers very good performance and price performance for running analytics. So customers of MySQL can now get real-time analytics at the best price performance in the industry. The second innovation is that in addition to processing data which is inside MySQL, with HeatWave, customers can also run query. They can run analytics on data which is stored in object store without having to copy data inside MySQL. So data in object store remains in object store, and customers can get, again, very good performance and price performance when they run analytics in data in the object store. And third, we have support for in-database machine learning and in-database generative AI, which provides a mechanism for customers to be able to interact with their database in natural language, both for structured data as well as unstructured data. Now, in the spirit of offering customers a choice, one of the announcements we are making this week is that all the AI and ML functionality which is available in HeatWave is now going to be available on-premise as a part of MySQL AI. So customers can now build their applications on-premise. AI, vector processing, ML, all of these capabilities are going to be present in MySQL AI. They can build applications on-premise, and when the time comes to deploying them, they can either deploy them on-premise, or they can deploy the same application in the cloud with MySQL HeatWave. And by deploying them in MySQL HeatWave, it will lead to lower cost and better performance. MySQL HeatWave is offered in multiple clouds. It's obviously offered in OCI. It's also offered natively in AWS, and it's offered in Azure. So what I'm going to show you today is a demo of MySQL HeatWave running on AWS, and there are two key features I'm going to highlight. One is the way you can use MySQL HeatWave to query data from S3, Object Store. And the second one is how you can interact with MySQL HeatWave in AWS in natural language. So we can roll the demo now. So this is a console we have for MySQL HeatWave on AWS. And when I log into the console, what I'm going to see is a dashboard which has a list of all the instances in this given tenancy. So this dashboard shows all the instances and databases I have. I'm going to log into one of the specific instances. And when I log into that instance, there I have 100 terabytes of data, which is stored in files in S3 or in InnoDB. I'm going to load this 100 terabytes of data into HeatWave. And just to give you a perspective, loading 100 terabytes of data with HeatWave takes under 2 hours. So I'm loading this data into HeatWave. The data is itself stored in a gzip format in S3 Object Store. Once I have loaded the data, I'm going to run a simple query just to see how many rows we have. So when I query one of the tables over here, which is a line item table, we'll see the number of rows it has. Yeah, so you can see it has about 600 billion rows. Right? And now I'm going to run a fairly complex query. It's a join across 5 tables, multiple predicates. It has group by, order by, multiple joins. Running this query over 100 terabytes of data takes less than 13 seconds. So this is how fast and efficient HeatWave is, both to load data as well as query data. I can also load other kinds of data, other kinds of files from the Object Store. So next, I'm going to load some files which are in a Parquet format into HeatWave. And again, with a single click of a button, I can load this into HeatWave. I can also load unstructured data, like documents, from S3 into HeatWave. So next, I'm going to load some PDF documents into HeatWave. Now, when I'm loading a PDF document, although I'm just going to click the load, what is happening under the covers is HeatWave is parsing the PDF files. It's creating segments. It's creating vector embeddings. It's creating a vector store which gets stored back in S3, and then it's populating this data. Once I have populated this data or created vector embeddings out of PDF documents, I can now ask questions in natural language in this data. Now, I have this AWS a console for MySQL HeatWave, both on AWS and OCI. But one of the things we have done is that we have also enhanced MySQL tools, which are very popular amongst developers, with these new capabilities. One such tool is MySQL Shell, which has been enhanced to understand the interaction with natural language. And what I'm now going to do is I'm connecting MySQL Shell to an instance of MySQL HeatWave. And the first thing I'm going to do is issue a natural language prompt, which I'm asking a question in English on this data which I loaded in a Parquet file. This generates a SQL where it's taking the output from an LLM and augmenting it with a bunch of innovations we did in MySQL to make the accuracy of the generated SQL statement to be better. And then the query is executed. I can also ask questions in natural language to the PDF documents which I just loaded. So I'm asking a question over here, and the response is coming back in English. But what is also interesting is that if you see on the right-hand side, the system is giving you the results of which documents actually had the answer to the question which was asked, right? So you can actually go and get into the more details if you want by pulling up those documents. And finally, with HeatWave, one of the very key innovations we have is we have support for in-database LLMs which run on CPUs. So we have a choice of LLMs we offer to our customers. In addition, we also offer the capability where you can invoke the larger LLMs which are available in AWS Bedrock, and you can see the list on the right. So what I've just shown you is a number of capabilities of MySQL HeatWave, where you can query data from an object store. In this case, it was S3. You can interact both with the structured and unstructured content in natural language. And this is running on AWS, but the same functionality is available on OCI as well as on Azure. Thank you so much, and I would like to invite Karan back on the stage.
Thanks, Nipun. All right, so MySQL HeatWave is really cool. Not only can you deploy it, on obviously OCI, but other clouds, but you can also deploy it on premise, right? So that's where our dedicated cloud strategy comes into play. customers have the choice and flexibility to deploy the entire portfolio of our public cloud services behind their firewalls in their data center, run, managed, operated by Oracle. So you can start really small, and then you can scale up as you need modularly. So Clay talked about the fact that we've made significant progress in our dedicated cloud journey. Maybe about 5 years ago, we started with about 50 racks and about half a megawatt of footprint, all the way down to 3 racks now with dedicated region 25. Gives you all the sovereign AI-ready controls. It gives you all the different models that we talked about, the commercial database side, but also MySQL. It's been extremely successful, and we've had lots of different customers adopt dedicated region for their internal workloads. For example, Vodafone, that took 40 data centers and then consolidated it down to 6 dedicated regions across Europe. The ITC-HA group, that built 2 regions in Oman and then actually ran the national elections on top of the dedicated region. And NRI, which is actually one of our first few customers when we launched dedicated region a long time ago. They're one of the largest financial services providers in Japan, and they run about 50% of the Tokyo Stock Exchange through the Oracle dedicated region, about 100 million transactions per day. To talk a little bit more about another customer, I'd love to invite Dave on stage from Meta.
Hey, Karan, great
Hey,
to see you.
Awesome. So I think everybody obviously knows who Meta is. And a lot of people know that Meta is an Oracle Cloud customer, but I think a lot of people don't know that Meta also deploys dedicated region inside your own facilities to run SaaS applications. Can you talk a little bit more about what Meta is doing and what you're doing at Meta?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking, Karan. So, I joined Facebook back in 2011, and since then I've driven our Oracle roadmap and delivery. And, from an R12 EBS instance on a single Exadata to cloud at customer with a Golden Gate on an Exadata, and most recently in August, migrating all of our cloud at customer, public cloud, and Golden Gate infrastructure to the dedicated region going live in August.
Wow, so you just went live in August with dedicated region. How's it going?
It was a journey, and while there was a lot of moving parts, when I look back, Oracle's Cloud Lift, the dedicated region program management team, they made a complex and technical program manageable and achievable. Again, we consolidated all of our cloud at customer, private cloud, SaaS tenants, all of our public cloud planning, trade management, transportation management, along with that Golden Gate infrastructure onto a single consolidated platform. And it really sets up our enterprise engineering organization for the next 5 years, plus beyond that.
Got it. So obviously, you're using a lot of Oracle applications and things like Golden Gate, et cetera, on dedicated region. Obviously, dedicated region, one of the key benefits of it is it provides, obviously, not just the security compliance aspects of it, but it provides all the broader benefits that you would get if you were to use a public cloud. So can you talk a little bit about what other things are you thinking about in regards to dedicated region? What other ways can dedicated region help you?
Absolutely. When I look down at this, dedicated region, it's provided Meta with a consolidation, a performance, and AI opportunities, given the modern infrastructure and its expandability inherently. So our next steps include the activation of the GPU racks and microservices layer to really allow us to take advantage of the AI and the Redwood UI modern capabilities, including Elasticsearch. And as I look at our supply chain team and our data center team, they're really looking to scale out our data centers and to achieve these 500 megawatt plus data sites. And when we look at the supply chain product lifecycle management as an example with the AI capabilities, it's something we're really looking forward to in the coming months.
That's super awesome. I mean, of course, so there's a lot of synergy there. How has dedicated region specifically impacted you and your team, and obviously in some ways the enterprise IT world?
So I would break that into 2 components, Karan. So one would be performance and the other would be compliance. And so As I noted, we went live on dedicated regions in August this year, 3 days before our August financial close. And calling out that, yes, we closed our books on time and on schedule, but we also noticed a major performance improvement with our large and complex reporting sets, BI Publisher, BICC, and those areas. And I think almost more importantly, we saw a tremendous amount of downtime with our quarterly patching. When I looked at 25A, we saw 18 hours of downtime, 25B, 12 hours. And with 25C, it was 25 minutes. And I think that's somewhere 95, 97% reduction in downtime. And that's just a tremendous advantage for our internal partners, whether it's accounting, finance, or supply chain. And then just, on the compliance side, being a Cloud@Customer user for the last 5 years, the thing I'll call out about dedicated region is we can now have reliance on Oracle SOC 1 Type 2 report, and it really simplifies our IT general controls footprint, and it allows us to sunset a lot of manual key controls we've certified over the previous 5 years.
Well, Dave, super excited to work with your team, and I'm super happy that you guys went live in August, and seems to be so far so good. So thank you for your partnership, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Karan.
Thanks. So obviously that's a very interesting use case where, we've talked a lot about dedicated region customers and how they've been modernizing some of their workloads, but also customers that are running SaaS applications on top and actually doing things like financials. But a lot of our customers are also partners, and they want to be able to provide infrastructure services to their customers. And that's where Alloy comes into play. We launched Alloy a couple of years ago, and it's really the ability for a partner to be a CSP, to be a cloud provider. The same set of tools and functionality and operational guidance that we use ourselves to build services and manage our cloud, we provide those to our partners as well. So they can build their own cloud with their own Salesforce and actually build and deploy their value-added services on top for their customers. It's actually been very, very successful as well. We've had customers like Fujitsu, one of the largest IT providers in the world, deploying infrastructure services for their customers in Japan. AIS is actually Thailand's largest mobile network operator and is deploying now the first locally wholly owned operated hyperscale cloud in Thailand. And then Etisalat, who are serving over 15 million customers and 300,000 organizations across the Middle East to provide AI infrastructure services to their customers. Another customer that I'd like to invite on stage, who's been helping provide local cloud services to another sovereign country, I'd love to invite Ian from New Zealand, from Team IM.
Hi, Karan.
Hey, Ian.
How you doing? Thanks.
It's a long flight. I don't think you caught an Uber from New Zealand. Thanks for being here. Obviously, so I'm from New Zealand, so I understand some of, obviously, the local restrictions and some of the economy in New Zealand. And obviously, New Zealand being so far away presents certain challenges, whether it's network connectivity or other kinds of challenges. Can you talk a little bit about how it's going in New Zealand and what are some of the challenges that you find?
Sure. I think New Zealand became quite famous on the world map due to Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. But we are a long way from anywhere, 1,000 miles from Australia, our closest neighbour. We call it.
It's not part of Australia.
It's not part of Australia.
Right.
And also, you may have noticed New Zealand now appears on the Oracle map.
Yep.
So that's really good. We call it the tyranny of distance. Because everything has to come from somewhere, and it comes from a long way away. We also sit on the ring of fire, so we've got tectonic plates which cause earthquakes without any warning, and the odd volcano to erupt. So it's quite a demanding place. But one of the biggest things from our perspective is there's only 5 million people. So it's a small market, but it's got the same complexity as a much larger market. So cost, availability, and resilience are big factors, and we've opened 2 regions. But as you can imagine, with earthquakes and volcanoes, Trying to find safe places for large data centers is also quite difficult. So it's an interesting mix.
That makes sense. How does, obviously, one of the reasons for Alloy to exist is because you want the data sovereignty controls and privacy and all sorts of regulatory requirements. How is Oracle? First of all, how does New Zealand think about those challenges from a data sovereignty perspective?
Well, we were the first hyperscale region in New Zealand, and we only launched last August. And until then, there was no hyperscaler option in New Zealand. So most government agencies got an exemption to store their data offshore. But it's not ideal. And the government announced the cloud first policy recently, which states that agencies should be moving to the cloud rather than refreshing their hardware or staying on-prem. They should store their data in New Zealand if possible, and if the services are available, and they should use sustainable data centers. So I think there is a big move to repatriate back to New Zealand. And I think commercial customers don't obviously fall under the cloud first policy. But there's also resilience issues and sovereign to do with personal data. And also latency can be an issue between New Zealand and Australia.
That makes total sense. So how does Oracle Alloy sort of help with that? Because obviously, there's obviously other cloud providers and things, but Oracle Alloy obviously solves some of these challenges. Can you talk a little bit about how Alloy is specifically helping you?
Well, one of the reasons we thought Alloy was perfect for New Zealand is because all the services that you get for IaaS and PaaS, for example, in Sydney for OCI, you get them from Team Cloud. There's not a cut down range of services. So we can offer people exactly the same thing as I get from OCI, but it's resident in New Zealand. So that was great for us. We also can start off with a fairly small footprint and build as we get more workloads coming in. And that's a part of a great partnership with Oracle that allows us to do that.
So you launched last year, right? Can you talk about some of the customers that are running on Oracle Alloy or Team IM Cloud, shall I say?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we had some workloads that were running on hyperscalers in Australia that weren't OCI. And so when we launched, part of that was to migrate those back to New Zealand. And not only did they say that they had incredible performance for less compute, but most of them saved to between 40 and 48% on their costs. So that's a huge factor. And we are now migrating another large agency into our cloud. And again, they are just staggered with the performance.
Okay. And obviously you heard Dave from Meta talk about SaaS as an example running on dedicated region. There's some of the interesting things that are coming in the future with Alloy. How do you think about Alloy as it relates to the future sense?
We want to do two things. So we've started doing some work around AI and using 23 AI, vectorization, and importing large language models into our cloud. But we want to do more around sovereign AI, build more agents, and potentially try and build a large language model for the whole of New Zealand. Second thing, we use Fusion apps to run our cloud, so we know our stack supports it. We want to be able to offer those same Fusion apps as sovereign SaaS to our New Zealand customers, and we are fairly advanced in our discussions with Oracle, and we're hoping we can announce something later this year.
Well, I'm super excited. Obviously, this is near and dear to my heart because I'm from New Zealand. So thank you so much, Ian, for coming all the way, and thanks for the partnership.
All right, thank you.
Good luck. Well, it's exciting to see Alloy is providing the same level of infrastructure services to customers across different nations. It's built on our proven dedicated region offering that allows customers to deploy the entirety of the 100, 200 plus Oracle services within their own data center, managed and operated by Oracle. And finally, our core database offerings, which has been a key differentiator for over 4 decades and continues to be the center of innovation for AI. Now, we started this entire discussion with choice. It's important, it's right, it makes us feel in control. Giving customers choice is sort of the entire underpinning of everything we're doing with dedicated cloud and distributed cloud. You can take OCI, you can run it anywhere, you can take it, you can resell it to your customers. All of these things are extremely hard